Atareta, where are you? Called Paora from inside the house. Atareta was sitting outside in the garden. She was watching the bees dancing among the flowers and a long slimy worm wriggling around in the rich brown earth. Atareta loved being outdoors where she could watch all the wonders of nature, unlike her brother Paora, who preferred being indoors on his iPad. Atareta! Atareta! Atareta did not reply. She knew Paora wanted to show off that he could count in Māori, forwards and backwards, up to te kau. Here you are, Atareta. Listen to me count. Tahi, rua, toru, wha, rima, ono, whitu, waru, iwa, te kau. He paused, then began counting backwards. Te kau, iwa, waru, whitu, ono, rima, wha, toru, rua, tahi. Pretty cool, eh? Atareta didn't say anything. She continued looking at the worm in the earth. Ooh, that's a worm. Are you going to eat a noke? Kao! Go away, Paora. You don't know how to count in Māori, do you, Atareta? That's okay, because I will teach you. Atareta shook her head. Kao! Haere atu, Paora. You're still a baby. You can't count like I can. Atareta jumped up. I'm not a baby. She ran off behind the house. She could still hear her brother laughing loudly, and her eyes filled with tears. Behind the house was a big pile of firewood that Dad had chopped up ready for winter. Atareta hid herself behind the wood pile where Paora could not see her, and found a log to sit on. She was upset because she knew Paora was right. Although she could count to toru in Māori, she could not remember what numbers came next. Tahi, rua, toru. Oh, where? What's the next number? Tahi, rua, toru. 4, said a voice. Atareta looked up, and there sitting above her on the firewood was a large weta. Now, to some people, weta are ugly, scary insects, but to Atareta, the beautiful colours of the weta's body and length of its long antennae were fascinating. She was surprised to hear a weta talk, but she wasn't frightened. Do weta know how to count? I do, replied weta. In the past, I lived beneath a kura. Every day I listened to the tamariki counting, and I learned to count with them. Weta jumped down beside Atareta. Look, I have 8 legs and 2 antennae. That makes 10. Tahi, rua, toru, wha, rima, ono, whitu, waru, iwa, te kau. I don't know how to count like that. It's easy, said Weta. You have 10 fingers you can use. I will teach you. Stretch out your left hand. Atareta looked at Weta doubtfully, then slowly stretched out her hand. Using one of his antennae to touch her fingers, Weta began to count slowly. Atareta counted after Weta. Tahi, tahi, rua, rua, toru, toru, wha, Wha,
Rima.
Rima,
Tino pai.
said Weta.
Now, stretch out your other hand.
Using his antennae, Weta touched the fingers of Atareta's right hand.
Ono, whetu, waru, iwa, te go. Now, let's count all your fingers together.
Atareta and Weta started counting together. Weta was very patient, but Atareta still found it hard to remember the numbers that followed Rima. Atareta! Atareta! Kai is ready, called Mum from the house.
Kei te pai, Atareta. You keep practicing counting up to Rima and come back tomorrow.
Atareta smiled happily at Weta and ran inside to eat her tea. She was very hungry from all her hard work learning to count. After tea, Atareta asked her brother, "Paura, will you count forwards and backwards up to 10 for me?" Paura was happy that his sister had realized how clever he was and began counting. Atareta listened to him silently and thought to herself, "Soon I'll be able to count like that." Over the next few days, Atareta went to the firewood pile every afternoon. As soon as she saw Weta, she would stretch out her hands and they would start counting. Once Atareta could count up to te kau, Weta began teaching her how to count backwards. One day, Atareta stood in front of the firewood pile and Weta listened as she proudly counted for him. Tahi, rua, toru, wha, rima, ono, whetu, waru, iwa, te kau. Te kau, iwa, waru, whetu, ono, rima, wha, toru, rua, tahi.
Tū miki,
said Weta.
That's wonderful.
Suddenly, Paura came around the side of the house.
Who's that counting?
When he saw Atareta, his eyes nearly popped out of his head.
Atareta, was that you counting?
It was me.
Who taught you?
He did. Atareta pointed at Weta.
Oh, he Weta,
cried Paura, and he turned and ran off. Atareta and Weta laughed.
Now,
said Weta,
we will learn to count up to ruatiko. Take off your shoes, Atareta.
Weta jumped down next to Atareta's left foot. He used his antennae to touch her toes.
Whakarongo mai, Atareta. Te kau mā tahi, te kau mā rua, te kau mā toru, te kau mā wha, te kau mā rima, te kau mā ono, te kau mā whetu, te kau mā waru, te kau mā iwa, rua te kau.